What's up, you guys? We're gonna talk about Vanderpump Rules because it is wild. My friend Roxy's gonna join us, so we'll just kind of hang out until then. I have no idea how to change the caption on the bottom. We're not talking about mental health. We're gonna be talking about Vanderpump Rules, but I guess mental health as it applies to Vanderpump Rules. So yeah. Excited to be here with you guys today. So let's see. What's up, you guys? We're gonna be talking about Vanderpump Rules Reunion 3. My friend Roxy, the Black Sheep Survives, is gonna be on here. We're both mental health professionals, so we're gonna be talking about all the like craziness and the pathology of a lot of these characters. So if you guys have any comments or questions, definitely let us know. So let me bring Ryan. I'm so excited to chat with you guys about this. I woke up at 3 a.m. last night. I live in France, and I literally woke up at 3 a.m. to watch the live reunion by myself in the living room. So let's see. I think she joined. You just have to turn your camera on, I think.
Okay, let me see.
Let's see.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hi! Oh my God!
I'm so glad we're finally getting a sit-down time to talk about this, because last night's reunion, part 3, was absolutely bananas, like the last two, but the amount of just, I guess, I don't know, I want to say narcissism and craziness really just,
I know. We were both texting what is happening?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know about you, but there were some moments in last night's reunion that for sure were really kind of troubling. For the first thing that comes to mind is the scene with Tom and Raquel in the dressing room after everything. They were so upset, and then they get into the dressing room and they're like, oh my God,
I'm still in the middle of what did I just watch, right? With her, I really get new supply energy.
Yes.
It's really sad because it's all the things. It's the love bombing behind the scenes, and then we see her isolate her and coach her at the same time. And then this was sort of yes, we kind of pulled it off. Mm-hmm. But then when she comes back 6 days later, it's dun dun dun. Right?
I had a feeling she came back and kind of blew everything up, because I think that's when he broke up with her, and he she wanted to have some revenge and kind of say what actually happened. But he's completely 100% a narcissist. I just got out of an 8-year relationship with a narcissist, and this is so textbook. He did it to his first relationship with Kristen, then he got Ariana, and now he has, Raquel and whoever else he's messing around with. But it's disturbing to watch it from an outsider's perspective, because when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's so easy to believe everything they're saying, kind of go along with things. So it was just definitely,
you believe, at the end of the day, you believe in your relationship so much, and you just think that this is just an up and down, and this is just a down that you guys are stuck in. And again, you're just trying to make it through in order to get back up. And I mean, this is normal. You think it's a normal relationship, but a relationship with a narcissist is not the same thing. They actually intentionally do this to you, versus you have a down because somebody lost a job, and then you just sort of pick up a little slack here, or anything normal that happens in a normal relationship. When you're with a narcissist, all that stuff is created by them.
Yeah, well, they live in their own world, and they want you to join that world, and they want you to play the part that they want you to play in that world. And as long as you're playing the part and the role that they want you to play, and you're making them happy, they're fine. But the minute that you step outside of that, or call them out on this fake reality that they've like constructed, you know, this idea that, oh my God, we were just friends and we fell in love, and the narrative of like, well, you know, like Ariana and him weren't like, you know, being intimate, and like, but that was all caused by Tom. Like that was all something that was like created by him. And she really went for it.
Yeah, the problem is that this is who he is. It's not Ariana's fault at all. It's just this is who he is. He's been cheating the entire time.
Oh yeah.
She's
Oh,
known of a couple of it, and then they were fine when he was cheating on her all the other previous times. Like, how come this time?
mm,
Because he was setting up Raquel to take Ariana's place. It's people are like, well, what's the big deal? They've all cheated. What's
yeah.
the big deal? I don't understand. This is a show about cheaters. Like, what's the problem? And it's like, no, it's the setting up and
Yeah.
the implanting seeds and the blaming her, and just it's devastating. This could have gone a whole other way.
Oh, totally. And you know, it's funny because like one of the things that I talk about, especially like with my clients too, who are in narcissistic relationships, is like they wear such a mask, but they can't hold the mask forever, and like the mask will fall eventually. And like in all parts of the reunion, there was definitely multiple parts where you can see Tom's mask completely like drop, like, and he couldn't hide who he truly is. Like that comment, oh my God, the comment about when he was having, I don't know if I can say it on TikTok or we'll get like blocked, but like sex with Ariana and Raquel at the same time. And then his response was like, yeah, she wore a t-shirt. It was so hot. Like,
But like that told me so much, right? Like I understand. Okay, he weaponized her mental health. He weaponized her body issues. He's done it like he's just trying to like grasp at straws. And then it also told me something about safety. She does not feel safe enough to be herself in front of him. Why?
yeah.
Like something there. And again, this is like all subconscious things that we all do. And we don't realize it until afterwards when we're actually in safe relationships. We're like, well, why did we do that? We should be completely comfortable with our partner.
Oh yeah. Like
And he must have been shaming her for a
the
long
whole
time.
time. I mean, the whole comment about, well, I get all the batteries and paper towels and stuff, which by the way, his assistant does. Like he's not the one going out to the store to get shit. But like all of that, I think, you know, in these relationships with narcissists, they like take almost like a pickaxe, and little comments, little moments, little rejections, all these things just chip and chip and chip and chip away at your sense of self, your self-esteem, your sense of reality. And like I know, like in the last 2 years of my relationship, like we were not intimate at all. And it wasn't because like I'm a very sexual being. Like it wasn't because I didn't want to have sex, but because I literally I had the ick. Like I had the ick because every interaction felt like rejection or abandonment, or like, you know, he knows how to push those buttons. And that's what they do to keep you like kind of locked in, feeling like, okay, there's no one else better for me, and this is, you know, fine, and this is normal, and we can get better. And then they give you glimpses of like, oh yeah, I love you, and here's like a little crumb, and you're like, okay, I have the crumb, and now like I'm gonna hold on to that crumb and it'll get better. And like it just is like this, unless they do something really massive like something like this, like it's very hard to extricate yourself for a long time from these people.
Yeah. And it's weird because you're building them up and you're trying to like be there for them and build them up and give them courage and encouragement and blah 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 blah. And they're simultaneously tearing you down
Yeah.
at the same time. And you're like, why am I building this person up if they're gonna like completely destroy me?
Oh, totally.
And the victims who turn into survivors keep a little bit for themselves. Like they're like, something's not adding up here, and they start questioning.
Yeah.
And once these questions start to come in, that really bothers them. If you notice, once you start questioning them and you start poking holes at all their like stories, because oh my God, they have so many stories. Their stories are ridiculous.
And then, but somehow, like they kind of, I don't know, they kind of convince you that like it makes sense. Like the amount of like orchestration and the amount of people.
I mean, they go above and beyond.
above and beyond. Like, first of all, who has the energy for that? Like, who has the time or energy to orchestrate something so involved? Like, you have too much time.
No, it's like they thrive in it. Like
Yeah.
you would think about it and you're like, I don't know how anybody keeps the lights up. Like this is a full-time overtime job.
Yeah.
And they do it effortlessly. Like they have no problems bringing someone down, tarnishing their reputation. I mean, creating holes, just being like you're part of the problem too. The whole mutual responsibility thing really gets me on my soapbox.
Oh, yes. Get on that soapbox.
It's so annoying because everybody from the outside, and again, this is the worst part. It's like the relationship with the narcissist, now you have to heal. Okay, you're out of the relationship. You have to undo all this stuff. And then it's the people around you that re traumatize you. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, I knew both of you together. Like, you used to yell at him too. And it's like, wow. People don't see it. I mean, there are people on Twitter right now defending Tom Sandoval.
That sends me. I'm just like I guess because I have my own experience with a narcissist, like, I get what's going on here, but I think for so many people, like the thing that they don't understand is that narcissists are really good at charming people and controlling the narrative of how people perceive of them. They're always
Yeah,
the good guy.
they
They're
make them
always
feel
the
bad
savior.
for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the victim.
Yeah, they're the victim. It's always them. Did you notice? And I think we texted a bit when she was crying, she had like a natural reaction where she was like, these
Yeah.
two people are the worst people. I mean, she helped her out in her relationship with James. And then he like started crying too. It was like, feel bad. Like every single time he has to like do his thing too. And it's so annoying because people who've been in these type of relationship, we could sniff it out.
Hmm. Oh yeah. I mean, when he started crying, I started hysterically laughing. I was like, really? And I love how like Ariana didn't even like address him. Like he was like, Ariana, like I will always love you and cheer you from afar. And she's like, I will never cheer him from afar. Like she
But
didn't.
she knows it's a lie.
Yeah. Like
Behind the
he's so
scenes, he's a
strong.
terror.
Yeah.
When instead of having anybody in that situation, if you get caught cheating, like let's play what ifs. If you get caught cheating, you would be like, I'm the worst fucking person. Like, I did this to my partner of 9 years. I let her on. I was gonna fertilize her eggs. Like I was at the doctor. And then I was carrying on this affair behind her back. Like you will feel horrible. And so would Raquel, because that was your friend. Because it's like,
Yeah.
where is that? That's what's missing. That's the part that's missing. When he went on Howie's podcast,
Oh
same
my God.
thing.
That shit show.
That was like a word salad for 2 hours. It was crazy.
And Howie didn't even he just didn't question anything. He like totally just let him control the narrative and like didn't challenge him. And those are the conditions that Tom would like asked for. He was like, I just want to share my story. I don't want to be challenged about anything. Like, so he can basically control some kind of narrative. It's insanity.
Yeah, I knew that the reunion was gonna be a mess once he went on the podcast because I was like, this is him trying to like clean his image a bit, add in a little bit of doubt, maybe save his brand deals. That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, he's trying to save his own shit. And the funny part is, like, in the midst of everything, Ariana's like winning big time with her career and her business, which is so awesome. And he's running around in a cover band. Like, that also sends me like to another galaxy because like he's not even singing his own songs. Like he's running around just for attention and he's performing and he's like I don't know, like it's just bizarre. It's like borderline psychotic, like in a way, you know?
Yeah. It's like his downfall. Like
Yeah.
we're seeing his downfall. No one's really paying attention to him. I mean, unless they're making fun of him, which is
Yeah.
why they're going to the concerts. They're not really paying attention to him.
I love that
You
people
know, they're recording it and making fun of him. And
yeah.
he's like, okay, it's good attention anyways. Like, hello, wake up. Like any other person would have been like, let me lay down. Like, let me lay low. wait until, you know,
Go
everything
to
calms down and then
therapy.
address
Like, go
this.
to go work. Well, he's a narcissist, so he'll never go to therapy, and if he does,
No,
it
he
doesn't work. But like,
doesn't. It's weird. They don't live in reality. It's
no.
crazy. It really is.
And honestly, the interesting thing though is that they like narcissists truly believe that they're the victim. It's not like they're running around going, "Oh, I did this horrible, awful thing, and I'm gonna, pretend like everything's okay." It's like they literally see themselves as the victim, that they deserve whatever they want, that like everybody else is the problem, everything's happening to them, they didn't do anything wrong, and that's why I think he feels so okay, just like continuing his day to day, visiting Ariana's family or wherever. I think he went to go visit her. I think he's hooking up with someone as well in Austin. He's like doing his shows. It's like bananas, but that's exactly how they operate.
Yeah. It's literally, they cannot see the truth. The moment the truth comes in, someone questions them, whatever, you get the narc rage.
Oh
You
yeah.
see them saying like underhanded, weird things, deflecting, playing the victim. They cannot see the truth. They don't see the magnitude of what they do. They just think, oh, it's just a little cheating. What's the big deal?
Oh, exactly. Hi, Laura. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Good to see you. Yeah, if you guys have any comments on like what your experience was watching any part of this reunion, like 1, 2, or 3, please let us know. If you have like comments you want to hear from you, or if you've like dealt with a narcissist before, like what has your experience been, and like share with us. But the interesting thing too is like Tom is a like he's an overt narcissist. He's really it's very clear, but I also wonder like Tom like Schwartz, right? Like what is that about? Like I don't, he's sitting there making jokes, like kind of like laughing. Like he played a huge part in this horrible nightmare of a situation, and I think he's like a covert narcissist, like one that kind of like hides, and the two of them like feed off of each other like little fucking like a worm.
Yes, they do. They all feed each other, cover narcissists, over narcissists. That's why they're friends,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they cover up for each other. They don't hold each other accountable. Once you have relationships where you don't hold anybody accountable, I mean, look at what he's done to Schwartz, and Schwartz is like, I'm a people pleaser. You're not a people pleaser. That's not what a people pleaser does. I'm sorry. Like, absolutely not. A people pleaser would still have a little bit of a backbone.
Like
Right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you think you want to like please people,
We
like
still have
including the people
morals.
who are getting hurt. Yeah.
I'm like, we still have morals. Like, I used to be a people pleaser, but I could still, like, I still saw right and wrong.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly. And like Lara, like amazing that you're healing from your relationship. Mine was 8 years too. Like we stay a long time, and we gotta think about that. And
I
yeah,
know.
Tiffany knows too. Like it's
I got
really
into a very young relationship where I was with a narcissist for 3 years. And thank God that, bye. I broke up with him. It was the worst thing ever. And I mean, I was 19 when I met him. By the time I was 22, I was still kind of like, he had me on this really bad roller coaster where I couldn't date anybody afterwards. Like, I was like scarred. Like, I was like, I don't even know how I got married.
no, but it's
But
like
after that, I was like hobbling around, and like people are like, oh, just date. Oh, just go out with someone new. It's fine. It's not a regular relationship.
no, well, actually, like, the studies show that, like, someone who's in a relationship with a narcissist, after a period of time, your brain actually changes, and you get, like, almost damage to your brain and your ability to, like, perceive of an actual reality, and, like, to be able to feel emotionally stable, to trust yourself, to not be in fight or flight or addicted to that up and down of, like, good and horrible times. You seek
Yeah,
out
the
experience.
reason why I have, and I know this is gonna sound insane, but I have some empathy towards Raquel is because she doesn't know what she's dealing with.
Mm.
She's stepped in it, and she thinks that they're in this romantic comedy. She has no idea that she got in bed with the devil.
Do you think, because I'm on the fence of like whether or not she is like playing the pageant queen, innocent Bambi eyed, what part, or if she actually really does know what she's doing. Like I'm still on the fence.
I really think it's a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that she went from being with James, who was a very high toxic relationship herself, to being with Sandoval. We don't know. We don't know their real timeline. I mean, at the end of the day, what she said, I just throw it away because
Yeah.
I think there's more. But I think that they did a lot of drinking and a lot of drugs, and there's a lot there that we don't know. And when you get someone like that under the influence, it's easier to manipulate and give
Yeah.
them fake feelings.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I mean, look, he's like dragging her. Look what he's done to her after the reunion. Like, you don't do that to someone you love. And she's
Yeah.
still kind of like there holding on for dear life. It's sick.
No, it's really sick. Like I saw that he was like, when he sings like that's the Stacy's mom song, and he was saying like Raquel is not for me. I was like, wow, it's not even like the dead haven't even been buried yet. Like, and you're already like completely flipping on this person who isn't, involved in this with you. And I do think that like she's young, she definitely is naive in terms of like all of this stuff, and was easily manipulated. Again, like you said, like there's substances involved and things like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely
And
was.
when victims, like, they go from a very high toxic relationship in the public, like she was with James, into another one where it's secretive. They have their like isolation thing almost. I feel, I feel like there's no perfect victims.
No,
And
true.
that's the problem right there. Like, we feel like they've done messed up things.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Again, I'm not excusing it. She needs to take accountability. She's done a lot of messed up things. She needs to reflect. I hope that she's getting the help that she needs,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just like Ariana said, like, she doesn't even have an identity of her own.
Hmm.
This girl just picks up other people's identity. You know how those celebrities, like Brad Pitt, allegedly, they date someone and they change their whole style of dressing, the way
Yeah.
that they act and everything with the new person? Like, they're like chameleons. I
Yeah.
feel like she's like that.
Yeah, I definitely can see that because she changed her whole look. I read something and it made sense. Like she changed her hair to look like Ariana's short haircut. Like she had long hair, Ariana had long hair, Ariana cut her hair, she cut her hair. Like definitely. Like oh Lara, we're talking about the Vanderpump Rules cast. I don't know if you've seen the show, but I'm glad you think it's interesting. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's like masking in a new relationship. You just kind of chameleon, and you don't have like your own personality. But that's also very dangerous because it means you're highly manipulatable. Like you could be easily manipulated.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the worst thing you could do because it's like you're picking up little breadcrumbs from other people and you're like, oh, I have to be like these people. I mean, you saw her. This girl, for 5 years when she was with James, she barely spoke up. She
Yeah.
was like background noise. And then he comes in, we don't know when he started coaching her, and it's like this brand new Raquel that is like, I'm here, part of the A team. And you're like, you've been part of the C team.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? You're like popping off on Lala. This is very new, which
Yeah.
I understand because after a while you get sick and tired of things, right? So you start
Yeah.
speaking up. Okay, but that was his coaching. That was him implanting seeds.
Yeah, yeah, and you can tell too because like some of the things she say, it sounds like she rehearsed it before she said it. Especially when she like at the pool party where she like called Lala like a mistress. It sounded like she like prepared for that moment and then like walked up and like said what she needed to say that she had rehearsed and then like walked away. It didn't
Yeah.
sound like an actual real moment. So I wonder how long he's been like coaching her. You know?
Apparently for a long time. Because when
Yeah.
she had her pageant, he was coaching her.
Oh, really?
Like, I think her last pageant, he was there the whole time.
That's so gross.
I think I
Oh,
heard that on a podcast somewhere. There's been so much information, I don't even know where it's
yeah.
coming from.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's so much stuff that comes out. Like, I just saw the 2 hour interview on Call Her Daddy with Ariana, and that was really interesting. It was a long difficult at sometimes to listen to kind of interview, but like really informative. And even she admits that she feels like she may have turned kind of a blind eye to what was actually happening. And I mean, I think
You have
because, you
to.
know, you just want to believe the best and you don't. When she said on the podcast, she was like, I'm not the person that checks my partner's phone, even if I'm kind of suspicious, because I used to be that person. And it's the kind of idea that if I look, I'm going to find something that I don't want to see. So what is that about, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know that when you're with a narcissist, and again, you don't know that you're with a narcissist, but when you're with someone and you feel the need to protect them and hide their secrets, that's a huge red flag right there.
Yeah.
And you're covering for their actions
Yeah.
because you're like, I see long term.
Yeah, definitely. I've been
And
there.
women do this a lot. Like, we have to stop covering up for these men because they're going to eat us up alive
And they don't cover for us. Like when shit hits the
at
fan,
all.
they look for any moment to like basically like put out our stuff. Like if there's something we're working on or struggling with, or we get angry or we have a response to something, they're like immediately calling their friends, their family, like being like, look how crazy this person is and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And meanwhile, we're sitting there being like, okay, well, actually, that was a response to his cheating on me and him like doing all this crazy shit and being really aggressive or whatever it is, like manipulating me. Like, so it's always like the victims never like air it out for some reason, including myself.
Mhm.
And like, you know, it's kind of a fascinating thing. And for me, I think what comes up is like shame, you know, this idea that like, oh, like, first of all, yes, seeing the future and being like, it's gonna get better. Like this is just one thing. Like you know, you can kind of excuse it and get mad in the moment, and they'll do what they need to make up and keep you like in that place they want to keep you in, or they'll tell you it's your fault. And then you feel bad, and then you feel like, oh my god, like was this my fault? Maybe it's something I have to work on. But there's also the element of like shame, like. What are people going to think if they know the truth about the person that I'm with? What are they going to think about me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you have to explore the crap out of that one because
Yeah.
shame usually pops up in childhood
Oh yeah.
and it has to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And once you start uncovering why, like when you mentioned the thing about cell phones, when I was with that guy for 3 years, right away I started noticing his phone because he was very secretive with his phone. And I was like, what's the secret? Right? So I would see it light up and it would be text messages of like girls. And then he'll just be like, oh, those are girls before you, like that I was talking to and they didn't get the memo and whatever. And I was like, okay, well, like cut it off, right? It's that easy. I cut off who I was talking to be with you. So like, so then
Yeah.
I started noticing more and more things where it led me to check his phone because he was
Yeah.
so secretive with it. And every single time I would find something weird,
Yeah.
either a phone call, and he'll be like, we're just friends, whatever, right? To the point where I started realizing that he would change the girls' names to guys' names
Stop
on his
it.
phone.
What?
I swear it was
Fucking
like
guys,
Mike would
man.
call. It
Yeah.
was Mike. And I was like, who the fuck is Mike? Mike was a girl. And
Oh,
then I'm gonna age myself. I went on his MySpace account
oh my god,
and
I
it was,
remember MySpace.
I swear, it was like pages and pages and pages of random girls that he was talking to meet up with them. And me with all this, I went psycho. I printed them all out because I was like, he's
For
gonna tell
you.
me that this is not true. So I needed like physical proof. So I
Hmm.
printed them all out. I went to my cousin's house, printed them all out, went to his house, and I was like, I have proof. And he was like, we never met up. Like, I just wanted people to find me attractive. You know, I love
God,
you.
I heard that
And I was
too.
like, what the heck? Like, in my mind, I was like, I would never, like, how is this? But the gaslighting is so insidious that you believe it. So
Yeah.
at some point, I was like, just we moved in at some point to try to fix our relationship, and it was bad, bad,
Yeah.
bad, bad. I remember going through his phone, popping off, fighting. I mean, the fight or flight was real.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm
It's
not that type
so
of person.
Yeah.
Outside of all of that, I'm not that type of person. And I realized that when I said that's it, we're done, I was like, I never want to be in that situation where I need to check someone's phone.
Yeah.
If I ever feel like I need to check their phone, it's over.
I love that. Yeah.
And I maintain that. Like
Yeah.
with my husband, I've been married for 15 years. He leaves his phone everywhere.
Mhm.
He leaves his computer everywhere. I
Yeah.
leave my stuff everywhere. I'm not secretive with my things. And I notice it's different when you're in a relationship where you don't have that need to go through their phone. And I
Yeah.
was like, once I have that need to play Inspector Gadget, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like I can relate to so much of what you said. Like it's it's wild looking back and like he would like my narcissistic partner, he would like be DMing girls on Instagram and following all these like accounts of girls and like trying to make conversations. And like one day I was like I already knew, but I like didn't want to know, you know what I mean? And I was like, fuck this shit.
Mhm.
So I looked at his phone and I screenshotted all of the messages in every single one. And in these messages, he was like flirting, being like trying to be emotionally intimate, like which he wasn't with me. Like he was like very distanced with me or angry all the time at me. But with them, he would like be like, my relationship isn't good, and I just want to be with someone who loves me. And I'm like literally doing everything for this person, like that I possibly can. I'm breaking down, trying to figure out what's going on. So he's creating these like emotional connections with other women, then trying to be like, oh, do you want to meet up and blah blah blah. And when I showed it to him, first of all, classic narc response. Why would you go through my phone? How am I supposed to trust you if you're going through my phone? And like getting mad at me for finding it and then using the excuse of like, well, like, I'm, his excuse was,
We have bigger problems because you don't trust me.
yeah. Like I'm like you're trying to make new friends, and he did this with our yoga teacher one time, and try and actually did go out for drinks with her, and she was the one that was like, "This is really wrong. Like, I'm not getting involved in this," and like good on her, like for girl code, but like the amount of excuses and kind of stories that they make up, and then the constant feeling that you want to check their phone or have to check their phone. I literally left in November, and it was like I had to run. I had like 2 suitcases. I had to pretend I was coming back because he had bought a gun, and he had been like very not like passively threatening me with it, or like if people were to or if I were to break up, or he would kill himself, or like blah blah blah. So eventually, like I like orchestrated this whole like escape plan. Like I had to leave everything behind. So I ran. I packed 2 suitcases. I went to my mom's house in San Francisco. It took him like 3 months to really like understand I wasn't coming back. And then like all the horrible like abuse he put me through in like family group texts, and the horrible things he'd say, and not letting me get my things, like not letting me get movers out over there to like get my things, not giving me my dog, like just holding everything hostage, basically saying like I had to face him directly if I wanted to break up with him, which I'm like, okay, no, I'm not.
Controlling.
It's so controlling, and I felt awful the whole time. So like then I like literally did this in November. I went to Bali in December. I like packed a suitcase. I had yoga teacher training. I was like, I'm gonna go to Bali. I'm just gonna like take a minute for myself. I'm gonna like get really zenned out in yoga and like meditation and like find myself again, because I was so broken. I was like a shell of who I was, or who I used to be. And like it was during that time that I was like, fuck this shit. I'm never going back. And so I moved to Bali. And then not even like, I really worked on myself. And like in January, I met like a really nice guy. And now I'm like living with him. He's from France, and like I live with him now. So we both
What?
have, I know, both have like long-term visas, 2-year visas in Bali. So we go back and forth. He does like digital stuff so he can work from his computer. But what was really interesting was like he was there at the tail end of the breakup, and then like being around somebody who was so safe was like very nerve-wracking for me, because all I wanted to do is look at his phone, or like, and he was like, no, like you can use my passwords, like you can ask me anything. He was like so patient, so kind. Like it's weird. Like it's weird being in such a normal relationship, and I've gotten used to it now, but like he leaves his shit everywhere and it's always open, and I never
It's
feel like I
the
look. Like I never feel like I
Again,
have.
it's the survival. You're in survival. People don't understand. I think it's a regular relationship and you're making it up. No, you're in survival. It's fight or flight. You're in an abusive situation.
Yeah, it's
And
really
when
scary.
you're coming off of that, when we broke up, that's why like I see it different. When I broke up with him, he did such a freaking number on me at so young. I turned to drinking and I turned to drugs.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
lost myself. I lost myself because I've always had a pretty good grip on who I was, but the way that I was acting in that relationship was not who I was. Like I've been able to like cut things and have a clean break and move forward with my life and still continue. I've lost myself. I had like thoughts
oh
also
no, totally, yeah, same.
because I would be like driving and I would be like, who cares about me?
Yeah.
Like there were moments where I was like, no one loves me.
Hmm.
Like I could just get into an accident right now.
Yeah.
That's how my mind
Oh,
had
same.
I had these thoughts
Yeah.
and I couldn't see past that relationship because he was bothering me. Like he would let some time go by and then he'll like message me on AIM and be like, hey, and I'll be like, fuck
Yeah.
you. And, like it was,
So
and I'll be like, oh, I see that you're still mad. I'll talk to you later. And I was like, because
totally.
everything that I was holding in for so long. And I
Yeah.
think I was single for 2 years. And
Yeah.
I remember like trying to date at the time. And again, I was spiraling. Like I was like a mess. I was clubbing. Like I don't even know how I worked. I don't
Yeah.
even know how I would go to work. But I would go to work with like makeup all over my face. And my boss was like, long night, huh? It was a fucking mess.
No,
And she's
yeah.
like, I still smell like alcohol on you. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't care about anything or anyone.
Yeah.
It was like a shell of a person of who
Yeah.
I used to be. And it
Hmm.
was so I look back and I have nothing but empathy for that person that I used to be. But
Yeah.
that was the fallout of all of that. And I remember like trying to date and I would go on dates and like they were okay guys. And then they would be like, yeah, like I want to go out. And I'll be like, no, absolutely not. I had
Yeah.
no interest except for like going out, partying, numbing out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then after a long time, I kind of started like finding myself a little bit more and like seeing like who I used to be. And that's when I like met my husband and he was like, what's up? And
That's so
it
beautiful.
sort of like got my life back. I literally went from like dropping out of college, not being able to go to school, to getting my master's. Like
Yeah.
insane. Like I turned my life around and I'm the person that I used to be.
Wow.
And it's so hard to get there. And that's what people don't understand. They think it's a normal, regular relationship. But breaking up with this type of person will literally take everything
Yeah.
and recovering from it too.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Ariana's like, at least from the outside, like doing as well as she is. And maybe that's because of like massive, intensive amounts of therapy. Because I too, like, even when I was in Bali, like, it was a weird flip flop. Like, I would be like, really, like, 1 day or 2 days, I'd be like really good. And I would like be on my healthy stuff and I'd feel good. But then, like, it would just snap back into this, like, okay, I want to drink, I want to go out, I want to club and party. And there's those places in Bali too. But then I'd feel awful. I'd be like, okay, no, I'm like, this is not who I am. Like, I gotta, but like that struggle of like knowing that you're still in there somewhere and like trying to find that again is so hard. And like that's the thing about, like you said, about these abusive relationships, these working with especially narcissists, like it just like puts you so far away from who you were. And even though like it's only reflected in that relationship, right? The chaos, because if you look at your other relationships, no one treats you that way. You have like pretty good relationships. Well, I guess it depends And but like, like in my relationship, I guess, like, the only chaos, and like you would see me in rages and super unstable, but I wasn't like necessarily like that with all of my friends or the people around me, unless like they were also kind of triggering. But
Right.
it does take a
That
really
part.
long time, like, yeah, to climb out of that. I'm honestly shocked that I'm still climbing out of it. I think on some days, and some days I'm good, and some days I'm still climbing
You
out of
can't
it.
like lose that little bit of yourself. Don't
Yeah,
ever, ever let that person go.
yeah, yeah,
Like ever. And you could always work your way back to that.
yeah,
I know that like for me, I remember when that relationship was over, I was like, I will never let someone do that to me ever again. Because I saw the worst version of myself.
yeah,
I would like fight him. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
would break his shit.
yeah.
And he was like, "You're crazy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking crazy. I will light your shit on fire." Like
Yeah. I can relate to
I
that.
was so
And
sick
you're
of
like,
him.
that's not me. Like, oh my God. Like,
No, I would be like, "You're an
what?
idiot. You're an asshole. You're like," I will insult him from like top to bottom because that's the only thing I had. That's how I would regain my power.
Yeah,
Like people don't understand that that's how you regain your power from a narcissist. You have to see them for the type of person that they are. And people are like, well, you shouldn't. What gets me really going is when they're like, you shouldn't stigmatize.
oh
And
my
I'm
God.
like, you have no idea
Yeah,
what that type of relationship does to someone who's trying to be in a healthy relationship with a narcissist.
yeah,
The years that it takes off your life, the
yeah,
potentials, the career, everything is destroyed. Your family life, everything is destroyed. It's not just, if you fall out in a career, you're like, I'll try something else, right? You could pivot. You can't pivot from a narcissist. I mean, you can, but it takes a long time.
yeah. Well, it's like living through a nuclear explosion, but it's inside a bubble, so no one else knows about it. And you're like walking through an apocalypse, and you're torn and tattered and bruised and battered, and like you don't know who you are. You're like surviving every single day and having to put on a smile, like, and still work and still show up for like the people that in your life, and pretend like you're okay, because all the while the person who's like hurting you is like telling you that they love you, and they're making you feel like this is normal, and it's like this. It's so confusing that like for me it's like I still sometimes struggle with like, am I actually perceiving things accurately, or am I missing the red flags, or am I missing something here, that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, the self gaslighting takes over after they gaslight you for a long time. It's like you're going through the desert and you're like, help me. And everybody's like, you deserve it.
Yeah,
You're like, help me. It's your fault.
yeah.
Help me. Why did you stay with him? You're like, ah.
I
You
know,
know
and
what
the
I mean?
questions of like, well, why didn't you just leave, or like, why did you
Yeah,
stay?
why didn't you just leave? It's like, you be in a relationship with, you know what? I'll give him to you for a little bit and then you let me know how that goes, okay?
Yeah, I think it's like there's this idea now that like I think like some people might have breakups where they're like, oh my God, like I wonder if they've moved on, and I wonder if like they found somebody else, and I'm just sitting here thinking like, I hope he doesn't do this to anybody else. Like and if he's with somebody, oh my God, good luck, and I hope you don't stay as long as I did, because it's gonna be the same shit all over again.
I felt so bad. Like, I think a year into my marriage with my husband, we got married right away, so I won't talk about that because people are gonna be like, what? Um, but a year into our marriage, I'm at work doing work things, blah, 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 blah. And I get like a AIM message and it pops up, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. So they're like, hey, Roxy. And I'm like, only my friends call me Roxy. So I was already like, and my screen name was like Cutie Rica with a booty. Like, what? And that's not right.
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
swear. So I was
Okay.
like, there's no way that they knew that my name, whatever. Anyways, so I'm at work, blah, blah. And then she's like, hey, I'm dating your ex. And I'm like, what? She's like,
Yeah.
I know this is weird, but I've been following you on MySpace, and then I follow you on your blog because I had a blog back then where I would do like cooking things, and I'll post like a day in my city, and I'll post pictures of me and my husband going to like, I don't know, art festival or something stupid. You remember like back in the day?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's like, you look so happy. Like, how did you do this? Because he's telling me that it's me, that I need to go to therapy, that I'm the problem. And I'm like, oh, girl, how much time do you have? Because he did the same thing to me. You have to get away with, like, you have to get away from him. She's like, I have a child. And I was like, you have a child with him? I nearly fell out. And she was like, no, 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 it's my daughter. And I was like, get you and your daughter away from that man. Like, he's like, they told me, his mom told me that you were crazy. And I was like, of course she did.
Yeah.
All
Find
she does
monkeys
is take up for
everywhere.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like a horrible human being. And then she's like, yeah, she said that like you had an attitude. And I was like, well, that's true.
Oh my god. No, but it's
That
like,
is true. Because I didn't let him like fully walk all over. You still have to have a
yeah.
backbone. You can't let them fully walk all over you.
And I think
And
like
that's the
after a
part that
while,
gets them.
yeah, and you feel the rage. Like, I mean, because you know that something deep down, you know that something really bad is happening to you, even if consciously, like, you feel like you've made the excuses and you kind of have made reality twisted in some way so that you can accept the situation or believe what they have to say. But your unconscious, like your inner child, like your inner teen, like whatever part of you, that deep, deep, deep part of you knows. And it's screaming, like angry, like knowing that like you don't deserve this. And it's like that,
Yeah.
that kind of cognitive dissonance of like your conscious and your unconscious battling every single day. You know, but the rage is real because somewhere deep inside, you know that like you're in pain and that person is really hurting you.
Yeah. I like woke up from, I it, like almost felt like I was like under a spell.
Yeah.
And the way that I woke up out of this was I'm going through the computer, like a shared computer that we had bought at the house. And I see a lot of pictures.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is this? So then, like, petty me, I make it into like a wallpaper. So the first thing he does is
That's
like walk
terrible.
by and be like freaking out because I wanted to see his, like, I would play mind games too. I'm not gonna lie. Like, you
Yeah.
get petty, you know, because you're like, I can't believe this is happening to me. So then I'm like, I called my cousin over and I was like, look what I did, like, kind of celebrating this. And my cousin was like, and I was like, look at all of this. I can't believe it. Like I was on my rant for the
Yeah.
50th time. And she goes, she sits down next to me. She's like, listen, I'm just going to tell you this and I don't want you to get upset with me. And this is my best friend. I love her. She's like, either you do something about this or you delete all of this and you just keep going with him.
Mm.
Are you that type of woman?
Mm.
Because and I was like, how could you say that to me, like all of this? And I was like you're not being supportive right now, like how dare you? I don't you see how much I'm struggling with this? And she's like, you're just gonna forgive him like you've done all this other time and then get back with him. So let's skip all of that and just
Yeah.
pretend you don't see it. Are you that type of woman? I don't I don't know why she said this, but it was like her like hitting me over the head with like a rock. And
Yep.
I was like, I'm not, no, I don't want to live this life.
Yeah.
And the next day I moved out.
I literally can relate so much to that experience. You know, for me it was my mom who said something very similar. Like, and you know when the people around you get tired of it, there's some kind of, I don't know, something just clicked for me too, and I was like, oh fuck, like
It's
yeah,
so
they're
hard
not like
hearing the
they're
truth.
done, you know.
Yeah, they're done with you, basically. It's
Yeah,
like,
like make the
it's
choices
so
they're
hard
doing.
though.
Yeah.
And I can see why Ariana was covering up for him for as long as she did
Yeah.
because this is her life.
Yeah.
And she thought at some point maybe he turns it around.
And she built so much with him. Like, and she even let him in on her like bartending book. Like, they bought a house, like they were gonna do the egg thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like when you build that much with somebody, it's like, well, we've already gone this far, you know, like maybe it'll get better. Like maybe, you know, it'll get to a point where everything snaps into place, you know, but it's like eventually you just reach a point where you're just like, fuck this. Hopefully you reach that point, you know what I mean? And
Not
you're
with a
just,
narcissist ever.
yeah,
It just keeps getting worse, actually.
yeah,
And the only person you could save, you're so focused on saving them, and the only person that you need to focus on is yourself. And if you have that codependency, people pleaser in the background that you do so much work after the fact, you start to realize I've never put myself first.
yeah.
That feels foreign to me. Like, how do you even do that? I have clients who are like, how do I do that?
They're like, what does that even mean?
Um,
And you know, like the thing that happens too afterwards, at least in my experience and I've seen with my clients, is there is like a good period of grieving for yourself and all the things that you went through and all of like what you lost and all of the, like everything, just grieving because you finally see like the glasses are off and you can finally see like, oh, like I really hurt myself just almost just as much as this person hurt me, and like grieving for all of that.
I'm just so happy now that we're able to do these TikTok lives and these Instagram lives, and there's a lot more information. Because when I went through this, I don't even know how many years ago. I don't know, 20? I don't know. When I went through this, there was nothing.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
remember,
in our vocabulary at all.
thank God, the therapist that I picked to go to, because he was like, "You're crazy." I was like, maybe I am crazy. I mean, I've had a lot of like crazy family history. So I really was like, yeah, maybe. I mean, look how I'm acting. This is not who I am. So I
Yeah.
went to therapy and I sat down and I talked to the therapist, and she was this older, like Jewish woman. And she goes, "Sweetie, how old are you again?" And I was like, "I'm 22." And she's like, "You're young. Like, what do your parents say?" And I'm like, "My parents are a disaster. Don't worry about that." And she's like, "You're too young. Do you want to be with this person for the rest of your life? Like, you could build your life again. Like, what about school? What about work?" And I was like, "I can't think about any of that right now. I'm just thinking about my relationship." She's like, "He sucks. He's a
Yeah.
horrible person. Let me write you like a script for something, but think about ways of getting out of there." And I was like, this is like an older lady just being like, "What are you on? Like, what is the situation?" And that was a thank God for that.
Yeah.
Thank God for that lady. And I only saw her a couple more times, but that was enough for me to be like, it's not me. Let
Yeah.
me look at him for once.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting that now we're in this time and space, like you said, that it's like part of popular conversation, like mental health, like you know, toxic relationships, narcissists, things like that. And like being able to see this play out in real time on television between two real adults, it's almost like a case study, like you know what I mean?
It is.
Yeah. So it's cool being able to like talk about it. But we'll have to do another one of these because I have a client very
Yeah.
soon, so I could probably pop off. But
Yes.
yes, no, I'm really glad we did this, and like we'll chat more, and like we have to like talk more about this stuff because it's just so important.
It's so interesting. And I think getting the message out there, like, we have to.
Yeah.
Our experiences are valid. Other people are going through it in a very silent way where they're struggling and blaming themselves. And I think it's important for us to continue and having these conversations.
Hell yeah. Like if we can help like somebody get out of something like a little bit sooner or see a little bit quicker what's going on, and like that would make my whole day, my
Yes.
whole life.
Yes. So it's so good to do this with you.
Yes, thank you, Roxy. All right, thank
Bye.
you guys. We will chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.